If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know, the return. If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The crowd is here and the lights are on.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Right Way podcast, live on the Right Way Sports Network YouTube channel. I'm your host, CEO Malik Wright, joined with my co-host tonight. Look a little bit different, a little bit of different faces here tonight. But we've got my man, Max Marrero. How's it going, my hermano?
It's going awesome. It's going well.
Yeah. Then we got Daniel Alameda in the building. How's it going, Daniel?
Amazing, man. Ready to talk some sports.
Cool. We've got Will in the building. Will, what's going on, my man?
I'm doing great, Malik. Ready for a great show.
Yeah, guys, you guys know we actually didn't have the podcast last week. You can thank Hurricane Isaiah for that, or Isaiah. I don't know how you would pronounce his name necessarily, but you can thank him for that, knocking out power. But we're back. That's the important thing. Remember, guys, you can follow us on Instagram at TWSN, on Facebook at The Right Way Sports Network, on Twitter at TWSN. While you're here, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We greatly appreciate all your support. With that being said, guys, we've got a jam-packed show, a lot to talk about, a lot to get into. But before we get into that, I want to tell you guys a little bit about a change that we have going on. Alexis, who has been a big part of the Right Way podcast for quite some time, is no longer going to be joining us on the Right Way podcast. And I want to take this time specifically to thank her for all her contributions, all her efforts, and everything that she brought to the Right Way podcast. She will be missed. Well, you know the motto. The show does go on. And since the show is going on, we've already got someone who I'm very excited about that'll be taking her place as our moderator for the podcast, someone who I've known for quite some time, very outgoing, very energetic. And with that being said, I'm going to introduce her to the live, Miss Tiana Colbert. Tiana, how is it going?
Hey everyone, I am Tiana Colbert, and I'm so excited to join the team here at the Right Way Sports Network. I've heard nothing but great things from Malik, and this isn't the first time I've been on air. I was also a part of Tempo Network's Pan-Caribbean television station. I also had a show on Optimum, but I am so honored to be a part of this show now as your new moderator. I'm already loving the energy, and I can't wait to get to know my co-hosts as well. But I really want to give a huge thank you to Malik for thinking of me. I'm just so excited to be a part of this. So thank you.
Tiana, thank you so much. We know what you're going to bring to the show. And if you don't know, you're going to figure it out in short order. Tiana, we're super excited to have you on board. Tiana will be joining us in about 3 weeks on the Right Way podcast. Until then, we are stuck with the Loch Ness Monster, as I call him, outside of the Right Way podcast. We're locked in with Mr. Will Lachlan for the next 3 weeks. So I hope we can stand us. But with that also being said, we will be moving the Right Way podcast to Thursday nights as well, guys. Thursday nights moving forward, and that'll take place in about 2 weeks or so. But we'll keep you guys updated. We'll keep you guys in the loop as to what we have going here on the Right Way podcast. With that being said, Tiana, I know I told you this in short order. I want to thank you for coming on and introducing yourself to the entire crew, and we can't wait to have you on board.
I can't wait to get started.
All right, T. Take care.
See you soon.
That is Tiana. We're super excited to have her on the Right Way podcast moving forward. Now, that being said, I'll shut up and I'll hand the keys over to Mr. Will Lachlan, because we're locked in with Will Lachlan.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Locked in with Lachlan. All right, guys, we're going to kick it off in the NFL, National Football League. So today we're going to be talking about one of the toughest divisions in the league, arguably the best division in the entire NFL, the NFC West. We're going to be breaking it down for you guys, giving us our predictions for who we think is going to win that division. So, Daniel, who do you have winning the NFC West, and what's a team in that division that you think could maybe surprise some people?
I didn't want to start off the show like this, but I'm going to have to do it. The Arizona Cardinals will win the NFC West. The Arizona Cardinals will win the NFC West, and it's not so much about how good the Cardinals can be, but it's how much I don't trust the other teams. The Rams, listen, the Rams have the potential to be good, but they had way too many losses this past offseason. Let's look at the 49ers. The 49ers, we know that Super Bowl hangover. We've seen it time and time again. The Rams the previous year, what happened? They went 13-3, then they dropped all the way back to 8-8. I don't think the 49ers will be that bad, but if we're talking about the Arizona Cardinals, the Kyler Murray-led Arizona Cardinals, with all their offseason additions, you add DeAndre Hopkins to the team. You went out and drafted Isaiah Simmons. There is no flaws on this Arizona Cardinals team, okay? Because if you want to follow the trend, right? I'm a trendy guy. I like following the trend. Let's look at the second-year quarterback trend. We've seen guys like Lamar Jackson, guys like Patrick Mahomes take over the league in their second year. And the Arizona Cardinals have all the makings of that. Their offense was high-powered last year in their first year. They have weapons all over the place. Still have Larry Fitzgerald, Kenyon Drake. The offensive line's a little bit shaky, but they were shaky last year, and it didn't affect them that much. The Arizona Cardinals are my surprise team this year out of the NFC West. And I know some people are going to say the Seattle Seahawks. I just don't trust their offensive line or the pass rush. Jadeveon Clowney isn't there. Their offensive line has been terrible for the past 5 years. I just don't trust it. And I know Russell Wilson, Pete Carroll always going to be in contention, but I think this is Kyler Murray's year to have that breakout year.
Well, I'm gonna serve as some people in this discussion, like Daniel alluded to. I'm picking the Seattle Seahawks. That being said, I have my reasons, right? So let's start with the fact that they were a goal line stoppage away from winning the division last season on the very last play of the regular season. And against the San Francisco 49ers team, obviously that made the Super Bowl and was very close to winning it. Now, think about that team, and Daniel addresses true holes, that being on both the defensive and offensive line. But as we've seen in years past, they've been able to overcome that with fantastic quarterback play and incredible coaching. Also, that defense, yes, their D-line doesn't stack well against some of the others in that division, but that secondary certainly does. And I'm going to take that secondary and linebacking core all the way to the promised land, that being deep in the playoffs. I don't know how far they'll go, but that's a discussion for another day. I will take the Seattle Seahawks to have at least 13 wins this season, and I will have the San Francisco 49ers just trailing them. But it will be a very, very interesting competitive division. And yeah, Daniel, you know what? I will give you credit. I do think that the Arizona Cardinals can make some noise this year. I just don't know if it's far enough to win a division nor make the playoffs this specific season. But I think they're definitely heading the right path. Mr. Wright.
What do you think about Daniel Cardinals pick?
I don't listen to Daniel. I'll put it to you this way. I agree with Max. The Seattle Seahawks seem to be the forgotten team in the NFL on a consistent basis. That being said, I think the 49ers are still the team to beat in that division, though. But I definitely think that they might be headed for a little bit of a hangover, especially losing in that fashion in the Super Bowl. I wouldn't discount the Arizona Cardinals, obviously being much more competitive than they were last year. But the fact is they have too many holes on their roster still. Too many holes in their roster. He talks about the offensive line. They still don't have the offensive line figured out yet. So, I mean, if you ask me, the Seattle Seahawks are much further along, especially with the addition of Jamal Adams, and the Arizona Cardinals would be. So I just think that, once again, and the way Jimmy put it in our private chat, he said "hot take Daniel." I think that's hot take Daniel being hot take Daniel. But no way do the Cardinals win the division, not this year.
I don't know. I don't think you can say no way they can, because it's a wide open division.
I'm sure
I think there's no way.
I'm going to expand. There's no way, but there is a way, because
no way. Can I expand? Let me expand. Let me expand on my point. It's not that they don't have the team, nor the roster, nor the talent. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is the guy that can coach that offense. I think he's already proven that. I'm not discounting that. It's just the NFL, it's a matter of situation. Now, here's how they can win the division this year. It's called injuries. And I don't wish that on anybody, but that's the only way they can. Assuming that no one gets hurt, no one important, I think they need to take that one last step of development, really make sure quarterback trusts coach. We've seen it already. I do believe in it. But we also need to see how all those additions on the defense play out. I think it's too soon to say. Seattle and San Francisco have proven that I guess in Seattle's case, despite the lackluster offensive line, their running game is of the top tier in the NFC as a whole. San Francisco's right up there. They are a genuine contending team. I just think, barring a significant injury, those two teams are better along the track of contention than an Arizona. I would say next year, Arizona, you can certainly make that argument.
They can compete, but I mean, in terms of them winning a division, that's not going to happen. I mean, like I said, again, they have too many holes on their roster, and it's going to take much more than quarterback and coach to figure that out. I mean, they took the necessary steps this season to first addressing their defense in terms of they picked up Isaiah Simmons, who was a freakish athlete, but the big question with him is what positions he's going to play in the NFL. He's going to play linebacker, he's going to play safety,
right?
Or he's going to play defense as he says he does. These are all relatively real questions that we should be asking ourselves, and just to say that they're going to win the division is ridiculous. But
it's not ridiculous. We've seen it many times. The 49ers went from 4-12 to winning the division. Nothing is ridiculous.
The 49ers had more. You made the point of the 49ers. Well, I'm going to address you on that. The 49ers already had a dominant defense of line. They had a lot going for themselves before they won the division. They also had their quarterback in place, Jimmy Garoppolo, before he tore his ACL. You make a point that you're adding the 49. I'm simply adding to you that the Arizona Cardinals, they don't have an offensive line and they also don't have a defense. Simply adding one player on the defensive side of the football. Sure, they still have Patrick Peterson, but they haven't won since Patrick Peterson's been there, so I don't expect that to continue. Listen, they need a defensive line. Defense wins football games are won in the trenches, and that's something where they severely lack. A lot of their games are going to come down to winning in the trenches, and that's not something that they can do. I'm sorry.
That is something they can do. They added Jordan Phillips. Defensive tackle from the Bills this year. They have Chandler Jones, one of the most forgotten about players in the entire NFL, arguably the best edge rusher in the NFL. And you said Patrick Peterson, one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL.
What did Chandler Jones do last year?
What did Chandler Jones do last year?
Come on, Malik.
Plus sacks. Malik, what are you talking about?
I'm asking. What did he do significantly to help his team progress last year? He didn't.
He was one of the best.
No. Stop. I can't. No. We can't do that.
Say anything.
Let's be honest.
Okay,
come on.
But let's. Okay.
Come on.
I understand your defensive point, but to say they can't is completely ridiculous because they can't. We've seen it time and time again. What holes do they have?
There are three teams. You talk about injury. Max said injuries. He brought it out injuries, right? There are three teams in their division right now that are significantly better in terms of their roster than the Arizona Cardinals. Let's talk about facts, right? That's what we talk about here.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you're being cocky for no reason because what you're saying right now makes
you're completely disproving a point.
There are three. No, I'm not. I'm simply telling you there are three teams right now in their division that are better than the Arizona Cardinals.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
And there are injuries. There are injuries. What do you mean? What do you
mean?
How
are the Rams better? How are the Rams better?
The Rams were just in the Super Bowl. To Max's point, what are you talking about?
What?
They had 1 year off. 2 years. What do you mean?
They went 9-7 last year. Even with no run game, they went 9-7.
Yeah, but we're talking about a potential superstar with Kyler Murray at quarterback.
You're literally just pointing at Kyler Murray.
Okay, DeAndre Hopkins, Larry Fitzgerald, Kenyon Drake. That offense did really well last year.
Now you're making a good point. So listen, they do have DeAndre Hopkins, but what I'm simply saying, there are three teams right now that have closer to complete rosters than the Arizona Cardinals.
Well, and have proven more.
Yes, I can. They have proven more. They have proven more. That's what I'm saying. That is not a fact. Explain to me how the Rams have a better roster than the Cardinals. Explain that.
If you look at their roster makeup, Daniel, we can pull up their roster right now, but I don't believe we have much time in the show.
Yes.
We have so much topics to talk about.
Yes.
But if you look at their roster, if you look at their secondary, if you look at that, now the one issue with the Rams, I would say, is their linebacking core. Other than Samuel Buckham, I don't really necessarily look at any linebackers who I would look at, and I would say the Rams stand out, but their defensive line is better. I would say that their offensive line is better with
They have the best defensive player in all of football, and they have arguably the best corner in football in the same defense.
Okay, Patrick Peterson rivals Jalen Ramsey. Buda Baker is another forgotten safety in the entire NFL. We're talking about guys who don't get talked about enough. Chandler Jones, Buda Baker, Patrick Peterson, Byron. I'm not even gonna say that. You're gonna.
This is where you take over.
I just don't understand how you can say that. So it just makes no sense how you can completely say they have no chance. So doesn't make sense.
Any team
give them 1 more year of development, and then
especially with this whole COVID situation. What happens if Russell Wilson gets COVID? What happens?
Have an MVP year.
What?
Personally, I have the Seahawks winning the division. I think Russell Wilson's going to win the MVP this year. He's my
that's
for the MVP.
cool with that.
They have a healthy running back trio. I mean, adding Carlos Hyde. And also Adams, he's a difference maker. Jamal Adams is one of the best defensive players in football. No doubt. Safety in the league. Top 5, top 10, whatever. He's one of the
Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright. Woo.
Yeah, exactly. Their defense is
They have
great.
good defense line too.
Cardinals can definitely compete. I think they're a year away, personally. I think this is the Seahawks' time to shine.
I'm not saying no. Russell Wilson's a great quarterback, but I'm just if the Cardinals have a chance. So for you guys to say it's completely ridiculous, we'll see. We'll see.
Long shot, but it's possible.
Long shot, baby.
Transitioning. We're going to transition sports into UFC. We got a lot to talk about.
That we do.
A lot of topic. So we'll just get straight into it. Prediction, August 15th. We got Cormier versus Stipe. Max, how do you see that fight playing out?
Well, let's start with the fact that this is the greatest trilogy in the history of mixed martial arts. Yes, there's tons out there that you can argue, but in my opinion, definitely in the heavyweight division, it's the biggest trilogy, I would argue, of all time. So Cormier won the first fight because he was technically better than Stipe. And Stipe, I would argue, underestimated Cormier, given his size advantage, given his cardio, and the fact that he had been dominating the heavyweight division for so much time prior to that fight. So Cormier finished him off, and Cormier won the title deservedly so. So now what did Miocic do in the second fight that differed from the first fight? He worked on his cardio even further. He worked on his stand-up even further. He made sure that Daniel Cormier couldn't take him to the ground. So what did he end up doing? He ended up finishing Cormier relatively earlier in the middle of the fight. I don't remember. But Cormier looked like the shell of himself prior compared to that of the first fight. So what do I expect going into this fight? I think Cormier will make the right adjustments. I think Cormier will work on his cardio. But given his age, given the fact that Stipe is coming in with an aura of confidence, yes, you can say that's a downside for a fighter because, he may underestimate his opponent. But once you fight someone 3 times, I think you know them pretty well, and that goes for both fighters. Frankly, I'm going to take Stipe here. I know everyone wants Cormier to win because I believe it will be his final fight, regardless of the result. And look, I would love to see DC take care of business and win his last fight, win the title. But I just think Stipe is the better conditioned fighter. I think Stipe will probably finish him later in the fight. I'm not going to give you a certain round, but I think it will be late in the fight. Stipe will finish DC. But you know what? Regardless of the result, Stipe is one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time, and he deserves all the praise that's coming to him and that has already been given to him. Daniel?
I kind of want to see what Malik has to say.
No, he pointed to Daniel. Daniel, go.
All right. No, I agree with Max. I think Cormier, this fight really determines who's the best heavyweight of all time. We've seen the past 2 fights, and we actually had one of the best articles of the week we had on the Right Way Sports Network website. We talked about this greatest trilogy of all time.
Mr. Dorian Wright.
Mr. Dorian Wright. Hopefully he's up in here. But I think Stipe will finish off Cormier. And obviously, Cormier is the man that everyone wants to see win, but I'm going to take Stipe in this.
Malik?
You didn't give any reasoning why you were choosing Cormier, Daniel. Please give a reason.
Why? No, I picked Stipe, not Cormier.
No, why you picked Stipe? You didn't say why.
You
just say you're wrong.
It's just based off of personal preference on this. I'm not the biggest UFC guy up in here. So
and what's your preference, just out of curiosity?
I watched a couple of their fights before, and I think Stipe has a better chance.
Who'd you watch Stipe fight?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Okay. All right, so I'll say this. I think I want to be very clear before I start. I'm not a big fan of Daniel Cormier. I've never really been a big fan of the guy. Just don't like the way he carries himself necessarily. But I will say this. Daniel Cormier, to Max's point, this fight can go either way. It is the greatest trilogy in terms of heavyweight division. It really is. But it can go either way, right? It can go either way because I do think Stipe is the more conditioned fighter. I do think Stipe may have a little bit of an edge standing up in terms of the leg kicks. But here's what Max is forgetting. Here's what a lot of us are forgetting. Why did Stipe Miocic beat Daniel Cormier in the second fight? Well, he beat Daniel Cormier in the second fight because he made an adjustment. And that adjustment was he started attacking Daniel Cormier to the body. He hit Daniel Cormier a couple times to the body. And
his takedown defense as well.
It was a beautiful adjustment he made. It was a beautiful adjustment. When Daniel Cormier finally went for a takedown, in that fight, he was already gassed. He went for a takedown out of necessity because he was like, "Oh my God, these punches! I don't want to take these punches. I don't want to keep taking these hooks to the side of my ribs." So I'm going to try to go for a takedown. And at that point, he was way too gassed. He didn't have enough energy to complete the takedowns. That being said, if we can recall, when Daniel Cormier did get Stipe Miocic down in that fight, because he did have him down, he was smashing his face in. And his coaches, Joe Rogan, everyone was saying, why doesn't Daniel Cormier go back to taking him to the ground? It's where he was successful. Well, that being said, Daniel Cormier said after the fight, I should have kept taking him to the ground. Daniel Cormier is an all-class wrestler. He's a world-class wrestler. He can take anybody down to the ground at any point in time. He's made no qualms about it throughout this training camp process. He said, I'm going to take Stipe Miocic down to the ground, and I'm going to maul Stipe Miocic. One thing about Daniel Cormier that I've known in his career, other than when he said he was going to beat John Jones, if Daniel Cormier says he's going to do something, if Daniel Cormier says this is the game plan, this is what I'm going to do, you bet your bottom dollar, well, your top dollar, I'm sorry, or bottom dollar, surely up to you, that he's going to do that. Daniel Cormier is going to take Stipe Miocic down, make it uncomfortable. That's why Stipe Miocic wanted it to be a bigger ring, because he knows what Daniel Cormier's game plan is. He's going to take Stipe Miocic down to the ground and suffocate him on the ground. And no matter if I like him or not, no matter if we like it or not, Stipe Miocic, like he told him, you better bring your jock strap because you're going for a ride, my brother.
So let me ask you this, and I think your point is incredibly valid. I think that's an adjustment he's inevitably going to make. He voiced that, and that was clear in that fight, and I think you bring up a lot of good points. But my question is, do you think that he's going to go and take him down early, or do you think Stipe is going to anticipate that like I think he will, and he's going to create a game plan to counter that? And then he's going to end up being a situation like the second fight where when he ends up taking him down, yeah, sure, he'll find success because that's what his strength is, right? But he's already going to be so gassed out, and his conditioning is going to be so off at that point in the fight that it won't be that successful.
So, Max, let me paint a picture for you, brother. Listen, if you keep looking for something, right? If you're prepared for something, something else might catch you. What do I mean by that? Stipe Miocic, when he fought Daniel Cormier in the first fight, he was expecting the takedown, which is why he got knocked out. They were in a clinch, and he was guarding against a takedown, and Daniel Cormier came with the uppercut. Daniel Cormier throws bombs, and it's the heavyweight division. Anybody can get knocked out on any given punch. So Stipe Miocic can continue to try to defend that punch, but I think Daniel Cormier also will make the adjustment. Remember, Stipe Miocic doesn't want to engage with Daniel Cormier in those close-range situations, and that's what plays into the wrestler's advantage when going against a striker. Because even though I wouldn't even say Stipe Miocic is strictly a striker, in this fight, he is the striker because he's not a better wrestler than Cormier. So he's going to try to keep the fight standing. He's going to try to keep Daniel Cormier at bay. Well, the problem with that is the wrestler is going to continue to try to close the distance on you, continue to shoot, continue to fake shoot, continue to, make you uncomfortable in there. And all it takes is Daniel Cormier closing the distance. And then I personally think Daniel Cormier has him. Daniel Cormier puts together incredible pressure. And if Stipe is going to beat him, Stipe is going to have to make that beautiful adjustment early. Because I think it's the inevitable. I think he's going to get taken down. It's just the way it is. It's just a matter of if he can get up. And if he can get up, can he make the adjustment to then attack the body? But it's going to be a beautiful fight, my man. I just think Daniel Cormier's got a lot going for him. And I think that he knows that this is it for him.
I think it's going to be a great fight. I totally agree.
Absolutely.
And with that prediction, I've made my official prediction. I'm going with Stipe. And I have one logical reason why. That's because I'm 2-0 in my predictions since I've joined
Good man.
Network. Because I picked against Malik Wright's pick. That's the only reason I have. But it's worked, and I'm 2-0. So I'm ready to go 3-0. But transitioning into our next topic, I have kind of a follow-up to that last one. How do we see the result of this fighting possibly impacting Cormier's future in fighting? You want to take that on?
I'll let Malik take that. Yeah.
I don't think this is it for him. Listen, one thing about DC is a competitor, right? And if any of us have been competitors, we know that we have that itch sometimes to go back to doing what we love. No matter if it's track, no matter if it's basketball, no matter if it's football, no matter if it's boxing, no matter what it is, you sometimes get that itch. It could just last a little bit. But the beautiful thing about an itch, right? The crazy thing about an itch is, as a fighter, I can get an itch. And I could find myself signing a contract not being able to back out because I got that itch. I got a little too hungry, a little too excited. And it could happen over the smallest thing. You could see somebody win a championship in your division, as we see Henry Cejudo doing right now. Henry Cejudo is flirting with the idea of coming back, right? Because as a competitor, the one thing about us is you can't take to see someone else on the top because you know you're better than that person. You know you're better than that person. You know when you come back, you think in your mind you could beat that person. So what happens is you get advantageous. You get like George St. Pierre, who retired for 4 years or whatever the case may be. He comes back, says, I want a new challenge. I dominated the welterweight division. I'm going to then go to middleweight. And I'm going to become the middleweight champion. And he did. And he knocked out Michael Bisping. That being said, there's a guy at the light heavyweight division. There's a guy in the light heavyweight division who told DC, I beat you after a week of doing cocaine. There's a guy at the light heavyweight division that has haunted Daniel Cormier his entire career. There is a guy at the light heavyweight division, to be quite honest with you, potentially can go down as the greatest fighter of all time. And that man's name is John Bones Jones. I think that's enough to get Daniel Cormier to stay for one more fight. Because let me tell you something. It's not like the light heavyweight division. I think in the heavyweight division, it has been said multiple times, if Daniel Cormier is going to beat John Jones, because he lost to John Jones twice, it will be at the heavyweight division. And you know what? Although I don't believe he's the better fighter out of him and John Jones, I definitely think Daniel Cormier is going to want to put that to the test. So I bank on John Jones, Daniel Cormier, the trilogy fight, and that will be the greatest trilogy fight for the heavyweight championship, which I see John Jones winning that.
And like we talked about off air before the show, Malik, I think any MMA fan in the world would love to see that trilogy fight, and I think it's possible, but I think it's incredibly unlikely. So this is why I think this is Cormier's last fight. You bring up Henry Cejudo, that he may come back. Conor McGregor, we know, may come back.
He will,
and I think they will. Well, that's inevitable, right? But the difference between a Cejudo and a Cormier is Cormier already has an established legacy. Yes, Cejudo has put on a lot of really strong wins and has built himself a resume. I would argue he still has more to prove. The guy's only 33 years old. Cormier has been both the light heavyweight and heavyweight champion of the world, and he's 41 years old. I mean, he's an older guy, and frankly, here's why I don't think the John Jones trilogy is likely. It's not that he doesn't want to make it happen and that John Jones can't push for it or he can't push for it. I just think psychologically he's so messed up. I think that he doesn't want to come back to have the potential of being embarrassed, because that's what he was the last two fights with John Jones. It was arguably not even close. He was being put on his butt.
Max, I don't mean to cut you off, brother, but I want to talk about that. You said the mental stability, right?
Right.
That's the kind of stuff that will make you do crazy things, is what I'm getting at. Those are the crazy things. That's the kind of things that will make him come back. Listen, I think a lot of it depends on how he looks on Saturday night. If he feels good, if he comes out there and he smokes Stipe Miocic, he might be like, you know what? No, I'll wait. I think I feel good enough to do one more fight. You'd be surprised what doing a fight can make you feel like. And I'm of the belief that you brought up legacy. Well, Daniel Cormier would be looked at as one of the greatest of all time. He would be looked at as maybe the greatest of all time, but the issue is, or not the greatest of all time, but definitely top 5 potentially. But the issue is he hasn't been able to beat one guy in his past, and that's John Jones. So you mean to tell me that guy that I couldn't beat is coming to my weight class? You mean to tell me that guy that I couldn't beat he's facing uncharted territory? You mean to tell me I don't have to drop that much weight like DC had alluded to was a lot of problems back then? I just think that is enough. I don't think any other fight, but I think that fight is enough to make Daniel Cormier want to do it. Not for pride, but for legacy. I think he wants to prove that he can beat John Jones, because he said it multiple times. I can beat John Bones Jones. And you know what? Self-belief is a hell of a drug. And I think it can make it. I think that could be the thing to make Daniel Cormier step back in the octagon one last time. Maybe when we get fans back in the arena to fight a John Jones.
And I totally agree with everything you said, but here's where I differ. In regard to John Jones, it's 2-0, but it's like, yes, it was only 2 fights, but it seemed like he beat him 10 times.
Well,
That's
remember,
how badly
it's actually
beat he was.
1-0. It's actually 1-0 though, if we actually look
guess.
at it, because
I guess.
one fight it was taken off because of they took it
That's true.
off because of USADA.
That's a good point. But I'm saying, regardless, I mean, we know how that fight went, right? So,
absolutely.
Point is, psychologically, he knows that he didn't just get beat; he got demolished in both those fights. And think about it: the second fight, where you would argue, yes, legacy, yes, he wants the rematch. He wants to prove to the world that he can indeed beat John Jones. He got beat badly again, and he was bawling his eyes out. I mean, imagine being a grown man in public, bawling your eyes out.
He cried when he lost to Stipe, though. He always cries.
No, I know, but I'm saying, I feel like the John Jones one hit him differently than the Stipe.
It's like when I beat Daniel in a debate. He cries.
I'm not gonna get into that, but yes, I just think I'm just trying to be a realist here. It's not that it's not possible. I just think it's way less likely than it is likely. And I think, and to your point, I think if Cormier looks good, he may consider it. I just think he's already going to be on that top 10, GOAT list on MMA. He doesn't have to prove anything more.
Max, let's make a deal. If that fight happens, me and you're going to Vegas or wherever the hell it is, and we're watching that together, brother.
I love that, man. That'd be awesome.
As media for the UFC. How's that sound?
Perfect. I'm down. So, Daniel, do you think this is Cormier's last fight?
I think, Max, I want to ask you this question. If John Jones comes to Cormier and says, I want to fight, what are you going to say? You got to say, it's any human
But do you think
being.
John Jones wants to waste his time?
If he goes up to the heavyweight class, I mean, I think Cormier, it'll be a mutual agreement. It has to be mutual agreement.
I agree.
But the biggest thing with Cormier is that's his one blemish on his record. Your one blemish. And if you're looking at your whole career, because if you're at the end of your life and you're like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done more? I could have fought John Jones one more time. So it really depends. If Cormier looks good this Saturday, right? This Saturday?
Yes.
If Cormier looks good this Saturday, I think it could happen.
We'll see.
All right, interesting takes. So transitioning elsewhere in UFC, we've seen some rumors, some talk about Khabib versus possibly matching up against Georges St. Pierre. So that talk is kind of heated back up. So Max, what are your thoughts on this?
I think I speak for every MMA fan that has watched the sport for an extended period of time and saying MMA, that would be true MMA.
People who are just McGregor lovers, No,
the McGregor lovers don't know what GSP brings to the table. But I'm just saying, any true MMA fan, I mean, I would include casuals that aren't delusional McGregor fans, would argue, I would say that's arguably one of the greatest fights to be made. If he goes on to beat Gaethje, which I think he will, I think it'll be a close fight, unlike some people on the podcast. I do think he'll win, though. And to put the icing on the cake to make him 30-0, which is something that his dad has pushed for him to do before his passing, unfortunately, and something that he has publicly said that is the milestone he wants to reach. There is no better way in getting a 30-0 than beating GSP, except for one way. And here's where I'm going to make my little heel turn, guys. I would love to see, and I think it's a lot more realistic, the Conor McGregor rematch. I think GSP would be amazing, Malik. I'm not disagreeing with that. I just said it earlier. I just think from a realistic standpoint, I don't know if GSP is going to go out of retirement and take that fight. It's possible. But I think the money is going to go to the Conor McGregor fight. I think the fans are going to be, like we mentioned, they're a little delusional, are going to go for the Conor McGregor fight. And I think outside of GSP, which would be a huge legacy boost, I think beating a Conor McGregor that is determined, that has an extended camp to beat him after losing to him the way he did, may be more impressive than beating a GSP who's been out of the fight game for 2 years. I'm not saying he can't fight to the way he has been prior to his retirement or his second retirement, I guess. I just think that beating McGregor at his peak now says more to his legacy than beating a GSP who's been retired for 2 years.
No. GSP is a world-class athlete. And Max, you know what? I respect you in terms of your MMA opinion more than anyone. Seriously, I really do, man. You do a great job at what when you talk MMA and you write articles and stuff like that for the Right Way Sports Network. But I've got to disagree with you. I think legacy, in the words of Khabib, legacy, this means a lot to him, beating GSP, because you got to understand, GSP, Khabib patterned a lot of his game after GSP. Now, his wrestling is a little bit different. It's sambo wrestling where they do different twists and ties. We all know he can beat Conor McGregor. We all know he can beat Conor McGregor. It's, to me, that's
improving.
I'm not really trying to be, funny when I say that, but that fight wasn't even close. Khabib did what he wanted to him in there. And had Conor not did that illegal knee against Khabib when he was on the ground, where the referee stopped it, we could be talking about Conor McGregor with a broken left arm right now when he had him in a Gamora. We could really be talking about Conor in that regards. But listen, George St. Pierre is a guy that Khabib literally has looked up to. It's a guy he's always said that he wanted to beat, guy he always said he wanted to fight. And to your point, you say you don't know if GSP would accept. GSP said he would already do it. GSP said if UFC came to him and said, hey, Khabib wants to finish his last fight against you. He wants to retire 30-0. He beat McNuggets. He beat him already. He beat all these different guys. Matter of fact, I even think the Tony Ferguson fight is more interesting than Conor McGregor fight. Because these are fights that people
I would actually agree. I would actually agree with that, to be honest.
You talk about legacy fights. I don't want to see Conor versus Khabib again. I really don't. I mean, from an entertainment standpoint, it's entertaining.
I agree with that, actually.
But that's not a legacy fight. That's not a guy. That does nothing for Khabib's legacy. He beat the guy already. Doesn't matter if the guy was motivated, unmotivated, or not. Listen, when the guy wants a real competitive, some real shots, then he'll come back and he'll fight real competitors like Justin Gaethje, like Tony Ferguson, like Jorge Masvidal, like Tyron Woodley, and I can name more and more, and the list will go on and on and on. But the guy doesn't want real fight. He wants Khabib. That's what he wants, right? But he just wants another chance at the lightweight championship. He doesn't earn it. He hasn't earned it yet. He has to earn that. And honestly, the timeline just does not match up for him to earn that. The idea, and I'm not saying GSP does earn that, but what I am saying is Khabib is saying, I want to finish my career against the greatest of all time, and that's George St. Pierre. You've got to honor that, man. If they, like Daniel White said, if Khabib tells me whatever Khabib says he wants, that's what I'll honor. I just think it makes sense, and I just think it's logical. I think George St. Pierre already signed a contract with the UFC as a commentator, so it's not too hard to get a hold of that guy and get that deal done. So I think we'll be seeing George St. Pierre versus Khabib Nurmagomedov in April 2021.
He's certainly still in shape, so I'm here for it.
I think he's the only person. Actually, no, I think he's the only person that I think could actually beat Khabib Nurmagomedov. I really do.
Yeah.
What do you think, Daniel?
I agree with what Malik's saying. It's all about legacy. Obviously, I'm a Conor fan. So entertainment wise, I'd want to see the Conor Khabib fight, but from a legacy standpoint, it's not going to do anything if you've already beat him once. So if you have the chance to arguably fight the greatest fighter of all time, you have to do it. And I want to see a Conor fight. I do, but the GSP fight is a much more appealing to what Khabib is trying to do.
I want to see a Conor fight too. I want to see Conor fight an actual tough opponent that's not named Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I mean, Donald Cowboy Cerrone is a tough opponent, but the guy literally got his jaw knocked off the last 3 fights. I want to see him fight some actual tough opponents. Some guys like how about a guy like Jorge? How about a guy like can we get a Justin Gaethje? Can we even get a Tony Ferguson? I want to see the last tough fight Conor McGregor has had. The last tough fight. And Max, you might disagree, but I'm just talking about simply there is a such thing as having a softened jaw. They said Stipe Miocic had a soft jaw when he went up against Damian Cormier because before that he got into a war with Francis Ngannou. And I believe the exact same thing. People have to look at the facts. Donald Cowboy Cerrone got knocked out his last 3 fights by guys that Conor was offered to fight, and Conor did not want to fight them. So I want to see Conor in a tough fight, even if that looks like a Nate Diaz and they seem like they're on a collision course where it just seems like that makes sense. Just give me something where somebody's going to push you.
But you said his last opponent. You didn't tell me who his last opponent, like whose last best opponent was. I'm actually kind of curious.
Oh, I believe Conor's last tough opponent was Khabib.
Yeah.
And I think before that it was 2015, 20 against Nate Diaz. I mean, Floyd Mayweather, we all knew Floyd was going to beat him. I'm talking about in his arena, in his MMA arena. You need somebody that's going to push you. You say you're one of the best. You say you're the top of the food chain. Well, fight some of these guys you were offered to fight, like Justin Gaethje, like Tony Ferguson, guys who you won't even utter their name. Guys like Jorge Masvidal. That fight makes a ton of sense. Jorge Masvidal versus Conor. That fight makes sense. And to be honest with you, listen, here's the crazy part. I think that's a fight. I think those are fights he could win. It's just a matter of him becoming man and getting growing.
Well, Kamaru wants him too.
Kamaru would smash him.
Kamaru, it wouldn't be a fair fight. I don't think it'd be a fair fight. Yeah.
Listen, when you actually look at it, Max, and Max, you're a respected MMA mind, right? when you look at it, all the guys that are in the MMA right now, top guys that are relatively in reach in the welterweight class, in the lightweight class. Name any of the tough opponents that I named. Name an easy fight for him.
Are you saying with what division specifically? I'm sorry.
With, let's say the top contenders in the lightweight division, like a Tony, Justin, Khabib,
Okay.
and then welterweight, Jorge Masvidal, Kamaru Usman. I'll even say Colby Covington.
Well, you could argue the lightweight division is probably the most competitive division in the entire UFC. You know,
Right.
so I mean, any of those fights, even if he fights Dustin Poirier, you know.
But remember, Conor went to 170 to become the BMF champion. A lot of people don't know that. Conor went to 170 to become the BMF champion. He had already signed the contract to fight Donald Cowboy Cerrone. He was under the impression Nate Diaz was going to beat Jorge Masvidal. That's what he thought. He was aiming for the Nate Diaz trilogy fight. He said, I want to go up to 170 and take that BMF belt. Hell, while I'm up there, I might even take the welterweight championship belt. He said that. He talking, as he says, I talk. Well, he said that until somebody by the name of Jorge Gamebred Masvidal won that championship, and he hasn't uttered the guy's name once. Just saying.
I think that fight with Gamebred it needs to happen. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember we've had this discussion before. He got the title fight with Usman. That, you know, what was the more likely fight? Was it Usman? Sorry, was it McGregor and Masvidal or Usman? And I figured Usman was the more likely, which ended up happening. And now that that's happened and that's put in the past, Masvidal needs a couple more tune-up fights to put himself back in a title contending position. And with the poise that Conor brings, I think that could totally happen. I think it should happen.
I don't think he needs it, but I think
it's going to happen. Is my point. Like
I think in a full camp beats Usman.
We got a lot more Conor McGregor talk coming up. So we're gonna have a special guest.
Wait. Can I mention something really quickly before we get to the guest? I don't know if everyone knows this watching. Our guy Sean O'Malley got pushed up to the co-main event for this pay-per-view. So instead of fighting Chito Vera, Marlon Vera in a 3-round fight, he's now fighting him in a 5-round fight in a co-main. So that's a huge step for our guy Sean O'Malley. I think I speak for the Right Way Sports Network in saying we're wishing you luck. We expect you to win, but hey, give Chito Vera a chance. All right. We think don't beat him up too badly.
Chito was definitely a tough opponent, but I don't know if he's ready for the Sugar Show.
No.
I'm excited. I think Sugar Sean's gonna bring it all. So I just wanted to bring that up, but please
Best
continue.
of luck, Sean. Best of luck.
He's
I'll
our
shoot you
guy.
over a text.
For sure.
We're gonna bring in a special guest to debate Conor McGregor. Here we go. Welcome, Jimmy, host of the Phlite Zone podcast on the Right Way Sports Network. And this is the main topic for today. Malik's greatest MMA fighters of all time. His top 10. He released it on Instagram. And Jimmy had, a few things to say regarding the lack of the one Conor McGregor on Malik's list. They got into it in the Instagram comments. It was a fun debate for those that don't know. But Jimmy, take it away. Why do you think Conor McGregor should be on the list?
All right. So first of all, thank you, Malik. Thank you, Max. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Will, for having me on this podcast. It was quite a pleasure. All due respect, before all of us get into it with the heated debate, the one thing that caught me off guard when I first saw that list was Aldo at 9 and McGregor not even on the list. Let me start off by saying they were both strikers, right? They're both purebred strikers. Conor in 145 destroyed him in 145 for the featherweight belt. 13 seconds it took. 13 seconds. Conor did so much in a short amount of time for the MMA that I feel as if it's extremely disrespectful towards Conor to leave him off of a top 10 list with Jose Aldo being on it. Now, if Jose Aldo wasn't on it, I wouldn't have an issue with it. But the fact that Malik put Jose Aldo number 9 and Conor flirting between 12 and 19, it should be flipped. It should be Conor between 8 and 10, Jose between 12 and 15. That's my personal opinion. The fight speaks for itself. Jose lost to Conor 13 seconds. Yeah, he was on a down path to his career. He lost his next 2 fights to Max Holloway, who Conor took the distance earlier on in his career. That's my main point into why Conor should be higher than Jose. Go ahead, Malik, because I'm sure
Wait, Malik,
I'm not even triggered yet.
I want Max to go. I'm good.
Okay,
I haven't
so
talked to you about Conor yet.
I agree with putting respect on Conor's name in terms of that Aldo fight. No doubt he dominated Aldo. You don't knock out a guy in 13 seconds and not call it a complete domination. I don't think you can disagree. But the differentiator between Aldo and McGregor and why Aldo deserves a spot on that list is because 10 years of domination. Yes, that one fight was a bit of a wash, let's call it. But 10 years of domination and a consistency. You can't say that since Conor McGregor has fought, I don't know, even Chad Mendes, that he's been – actually, I would say since the Aldo fight. You can't say that he's been a consistent, year in, year out, straight-up UFC MMA fighter, right? He's taken up other ventures, as he should, right? Because he is a marketable guy. He's taken up boxing. He's now, with the whiskey business, he's now a businessman here and there. But he's not a true – consistent title defending UFC fighter, which Aldo has proven to be in his career. Yes, Aldo is kind of, he's at the moment right now, he's not the same fighter than he used to be, but you can't discount 10 years of complete and utter domination in the division. And Conor McGregor has just not shown the consistency that Aldo has. That's why I would put Aldo over McGregor.
All right, let me just say something to that point. Going into that fight, Aldo was on an 18-fight win streak. He defended the title 7 times. 7 times?
About that, yeah.
McGregor went into that fight on a 14-fight win streak. 14-0, 18-0. It's four win difference, right? If Conor wanted to, he would have stayed in the featherweight division, and he would have made it 10 times his division compared to what Aldo did during his prime. But Conor wanted.
Do you think he could beat a Max Holloway again? Like a Max Holloway that we've seen in recent years? Not the Max Holloway he fought ages ago. I'm talking about the Max Holloway at his peak. That could be an interesting fight.
And Max, to your point, you said Max Holloway fought during Max Holloway's UFC debut. Let's get that.
Okay, but he still beat Max Holloway when
in his UFC debut. You're right, he did.
Okay, but he still beat him, right? That's the fact. Debut. That's what we do. That's what we do in this show. That's the fact. The fact is, Jose Aldo lost to Conor 13 seconds.
Right.
They're both strikers, right? Conor could have easily taken out the division if he wanted to, just the way Jose did. But he wanted to do more. He wanted to go up. He wanted to go up to the division and defeat Eddie Alvarez to become the first double champ at the same time in MMA history. He wanted to beat on one of the Diaz brothers, that being Nate. He could have beat him the first time, but he got gassed. He made up for that by going all the way in the sequel, right? In the rematch.
But then again, you could argue, losing to a guy like Nate Diaz, who's like a grizzled MMA veteran, on a short notice fight is kind of an embarrassment.
Well, that's the thing.
Yes, I understand the jump in weight classes, like he's put on weight and the cardio was a problem, but I mean, Nate Diaz before that fight was not known as the same superstar as even Nick Diaz, right? So let's be honest.
But when it comes down to the short notice, it seems as if everybody during Conor's prime dropped out, so he needed to take fights up with different styles. Given the Chad Mendes, that's fair. He needed 10 days to prepare for a wrestler when he wasn't ready to fight a wrestler.
It's true.
And he took him out, right?
It's true.
And he was getting pounded in that second round. Got out of it.
Yeah, Mendes made it an interesting fight in the beginning. Yeah,
Jimmy, I don't understand how you can go based off of one fight. It's you're saying if. Because Conor beat Jose. That was your initial argument. Conor beat Jose, so he's a better fighter all time. This is about one-on-one sport, Daniel. This is about career. It's a one-on-one sport. So let's talk about any other sport. You can talk about if Ryan Tannehill last year beat Tom Brady. Does that matter? No, that doesn't mean he's a better quarterback all time. Just because you beat someone near the tail end of their career doesn't mean anything about their entire career. You're discounting exactly what Jose Aldo has done his entire career. You're saying based off of one fight. One fight. He's a better fighter.
It's different. It's different from the NBA, NFL, MLB. That's why you can't compare it, because those are team sports. This is a one-on-one fight. Jose Aldo was the champ at the time that they won, and Conor McGregor made it look easy on his path to Jose Aldo.
But we're talking about a career. We're talking about a career.
No. But Jimmy, your point is, I agree, but I'm saying let me bring it back to the division argument, right? That he would dominate the division if he stayed there.
He would.
I mean, I just don't know if he beats a Max Holloway again. I don't know if he beats even a Volkanovski.
Well,
I mean, I'm not saying that he can't. I'm not saying that he can't. He totally can. And he would be the favorite in those fights. But if he can be caught up, if he can be beat up by a Chad Mendes in one round, if he could be beat up by a Nate Diaz, right? Who's to say he can't lose to a Max Holloway at his peak? Who's to say he can't beat a Volkan, or he can't lose to a Volkanovski, or even more guys in that division, right? So
Look.
I'm just saying, I don't know if it's a complete wash. He would dominate the division. I think it would be a lot closer than you're saying.
Yeah, I'm not saying that he's Superman and he would go undefeated, but
Like Jose Aldo did for 10 years.
Until he met Conor, right?
Yeah, that's true. But I'm just saying, I just think Jose Aldo, if we're talking strictly from a MMA GOAT standpoint, if you pin their resumes together, for me in MMA, yes, resume matters in terms of people you beat. And yes, I will give you credit that Jose Aldo got absolutely destroyed by Conor. Absolutely. That's not an arguable point. But if you look at legacy, you can't take 10 years consistently dominating a division compared to a guy that's in and out of the sport every year. It's not even a given he's going to fight every year. You see, that's why I would say strictly from an MMA GOAT standpoint right now, or GOAT list standpoint right now, you would have to put Jose over Conor. That's my entire argument.
So from 2011 to 2016, he had at least 3 fights in each of those years.
Who'd he fight?
Who'd he fight? He fought Holloway, Brandao, Poirier.
On his UFC
Stipe,
debut,
Mendes,
as Malik just
Aldo.
said. Aldo
Okay.
at the end of his career.
Okay, McGregor was in his 3rd UFC fight, right? And he took him 3 rounds and won unanimously out of a decision. He didn't knock him out like you guys always say. Oh, he just wins because he goes into the psychological mind games and then he gets into their heads and then he knocks them out. Which I don't know. That's a pretty good strategy, but he has more than that because he took Nate Diaz 5 rounds and won on a majority. He took Max Holloway in his debut. Okay, in his debut. But Conor was still a baby back then. But Conor was still a baby back then, and he took him 3 rounds, won unanimously. I don't know how to say that word.
No, you're good. You're good.
Go ahead, Malik. I know you're dying.
Yeah, I want to hear Malik.
You're dying to roast me. You're dying to get me triggered. So go ahead. It's like this FaceTime call Saturday. I chopped you up. I wish this would have been on the podcast.
Max, Daniel, Will, you guys know my saying. The butchering starts now.
Let's go. I'm ready.
All right, to your point, you said Conor McGregor would have dominated the featherweight division. How do we know? How do we know?
On the path.
Here's what I'll tell you. We don't know. And here's why we don't know. Because he ran. He didn't even want to defend his belt. Jose Aldo asked for a rematch. How are you champion that long? How do you go undefeated for 10 years? Not 1 year, not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years, not little spurts. 10 years and dominate the competition. And you don't even get a rematch for your championship gold. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the simple fact, right? Nobody's debating it. A lot of people, when they're losing this argument, they want to talk about, oh, Conor's done so much for the sport. Nobody's debating what Conor's done for the sport. I'm not debating what Conor's done for the sport. Conor McGregor, hands down, is the biggest MMA star of all time. So what? Who gives a damn? That means nothing. The same thing when people are like, oh, Ronda Rousey should be on your GOAT list. For what? For what? Ronda Rousey was a bigger star at the time than Conor was. Before Conor switched over to boxing, she put women's MMA on the map. And everybody said, oh my God, she's this, she's that. Until guess what? There's a difference between being most popular at something, being a pioneer of something, and being the best at something. That's a fact. Now listen, we don't know if Conor would have dominated the featherweight division. As much as you like to say you have a crystal ball, even though I know you're a Mystic Mac fan, you ain't Mystic Jimmy. You don't have a crystal ball. We don't know. I don't know if he would have dominated the division. So you can't sit up here on the Right Way podcast because guess what? We deal with facts, and that's not a fact because he didn't stay in the division long enough. But I'll tell you what is a fact. He took his ass up to the lightweight division. He beat Eddie Alvarez. I give him credit for that. He chipped Eddie Alvarez.
Who Gaethje lost to? Who Gaethje lost to, by the way?
Styles
and Gaethje also lost to Poirier.
Styles make fights, so that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, no, but Gaethje now is way better than Gaethje back then. I would like to see that rematch.
That's Styles.
Dude, he's a different fighter, man. Come on.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm talking to Jimmy.
Styles make fights, so it's neither here nor there. Saying because he beat this person to beat Donald Cowboy Cerrone, if I'm not mistaken, didn't he beat Justin Gaethje, or did Justin Gaethje beat him?
Gaethje beat him.
Okay, Justin Gaethje beat him. I knew something. They beat each other, and then Justin Gaethje's always been floating around that top 3, top 5 for so long. But my point to you is he beat Eddie Alvarez, and then what happened? He didn't defend the featherweight belt. He didn't defend the lightweight belt. The dude immediately fought Nate Diaz, who, by the way, no matter how much MMA fans like to say, oh my God, Nate Diaz is looked at as a journeyman amongst MMA fighters. Let's talk about. You could breathe, you could hoop, you could holler. He's looked at as a journeyman fighter. You tell me when Nate Diaz has carried gold.
He hasn't.
You tell me when Nate Diaz. You tell me when Nate Diaz, not Nick Diaz. You tell me when not Nick Diaz. You tell me when Nate Diaz has fought for a championship belt.
He hasn't.
Okay, so listen, when he beat Nate Diaz, right? Congratulations. Nate Diaz took him 5 rounds. And to be honest with you, that fight was debatable too. Conor was sparking him, taking him down to the ground. But that fight was a lot closer than what a lot of Conor McGregor fans like to say. But let's bring you back. When they fought the first time, when Conor was supposed to spark him. No, it was getting a little spooky. Nate Diaz choked. Nate Diaz had your boy looking like a Smurf. Within the blue face, he was like, holy.
The last 30 seconds of the fight, he had him. The first fight, the last 30 seconds, he had him.
But guess what? It's lucky. Just like football, I'm happy football isn't won, in the first and second quarter. I'm happy that MMA isn't won in the first round. The second.
It is during McGregor's prime.
I'm happy that you got to complete.
During McGregor's prime.
I'm happy that you have to complete the race, because the fact of the matter is he did not complete the race. Your boy got choked out. Your boy got choked out by Nate Diaz. Never defended the featherweight belt. Never defended his lightweight belt. Ran from Khabib year on year on year. Ran from Tony Ferguson year on year on year. Ran from Justin Gaethje year on year on. And the list goes on. Let's talk about it. Your boy then went and fought Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather carried him, beat him. Your boy came back, fought Habib,
he took the greatest boxer of all time, 9 rounds.
No,
the greatest boxer of all time.
He did.
And he beat him in the first 3. Undisputed beat him in the first 3. Your boy was like this the whole time.
Jimmy, you're on my podcast.
Somebody when he's like this the whole time.
Jimmy, you're on my podcast.
I'm just saying.
If I'm talking and you're talking, that's a messed up conversation. Listen to what I'm saying. Just Conor McGregor fought Floyd Mayweather. Let's correct what you're saying. He didn't take Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor didn't take Floyd 10 rounds. Floyd took Conor McGregor 10 rounds. There is literally video footage of Showtime of Floyd saying, we're toying with him. We're playing with him in between the rounds, saying, oh, Dad, this is the round I'm about to put him out. He tired. This is the round I'm about to put him out. Blowing kisses at Conor McGregor's now fiance. Let's talk about that. But to your point, let's continue. Let's bring it back to MMA. He got smashed by Khabib Nurmagomedov. Smashed. It's only business. It's only business. That's what But you want to talk about why he's the GOAT. He lost to Nate Diaz. Lost to Khabib.
I'm saying he's better than Jose Aldo.
And then listen. They said, Conor, you could fight Jorge Masvidal. You could fight Justin Gaethje. No. Conor. You want an easy path to Khabib? All you gotta do is beat Tony Ferguson. Conor.
Can I say
Jorge.
Can I say
fight Tyron? No, you can't. You fight Tyron Woodley. You know what he said? Do you know what he came back with and said?
After a year and a half of being laid off of the UFC, he didn't want to jump into a big fight. He needed a warm-up fight. He needed a warm-up fight.
He did need a warm-up fight, Malik. That's true.
Listen. He came back. You know what he said?
I need a warm-up fight.
Frankie Edgar. Oh, no. I'll fight Cowboy Cerrone, who got knocked out by those 3 guys that you just mentioned. His last 3 fight in the first round. Your boy, listen. I'm putting you in your place right now. Because you McGregor fans think he's better than what he is. And the fact of the matter is, he could be your GOAT. He could be on your top 5 GOAT list. But let me tell you something right now. True MMA fans, true people who watch the sport, who know what they're talking about, he ain't nowhere damn near on their top 10 GOAT list. I know people right now with Conor McGregor in their top 15. And listen, he's a hell of a fighter. I'm not debating that. But don't sit up here and say that he's better than the guy who went undefeated for 10 years. Watch your mouth and know your own.
But wait, Malik. I want you to answer the question that we're all asking. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Why do you think that he is better or he is worse than Jose Aldo on that GOAT list. Specifically Jose Aldo.
Is Jose Aldo, like you said, Max. You said it yourself. There's no debate here. We're literally spitting hot air. Jose Aldo's resume of 10 years of dominance, fighting the top competition. Some of the guys that he alludes to, Chad Mendes, Conor Jose Aldo beat him twice. Knocked him out once.
Okay.
Jose Aldo's 10-year reign of dominance does not discount his one loss to Conor McGregor. Conor might be the better fighter out of the two. That's like people saying, "Oh, Buster Douglas. Buster Douglas is better than Mike Tyson."
Nah.
But Buster Douglas knocked Mike Tyson out.
But it's not the same.
Oh, no. Excuse me, Max. Because Buster Douglas knocked Mike Tyson out, Buster Douglas should replace Mike Tyson. It isn't the same. You're damn right. Because guess what? Conor McGregor is a good fighter. Nobody's discounting that, Jimmy. I'm not discounting that. I'm not discounting what the guy's even done for the sport. But to say that he's better than a guy who literally dominated the sport for 10 years is asinine. And you sat up here and you said that.
And he carved his path for 5 years. What is it? 4 years?
I don't know, McGregor lover.
He carved his path for 4 years to get to the undisputed GOAT of the featherweight division. And Conor, it took him 13 seconds to beat him. And then Conor carried it for 2 more years of dominance. So Conor dominated for 6 years.
He dominated who? Who?
The UFC.
Who?
He lost to Nate Diaz from 2010 to 2016. The only fighter he lost to was Nate Diaz, and he was 17-1 in that time.
You're muted. You're
muted yourself.
No, wait, but like Jimmy, let me jump in really quickly.
Go ahead. I'm done dealing
his
with
best. Who's his? Okay, he beats Jose. He beats Jose, right?
Yes.
That's what he made his career off of.
No. But do you consider the victory over even Eddie Alvarez to be really that impressive? I would argue he's one of the most overrated champions in the history of the UFC. There's a reason why Eddie Alvarez no longer fights for the UFC is because he's incredibly overrated. He's not marketable, and there's a reason why. I don't know if you remember this. When he took that fight with Conor, he didn't even negotiate a new contract because the UFC wouldn't give him a new long-term contract. It was on his last contract because the UFC wanted him out. The UFC knew, and I hate to break it to you, Conor fans, that Conor was probably going to beat him. So they figured, how can we make Eddie marketable before we send him on his merry way out? Let's put him on a fight against Conor McGregor that he will lose. So I don't really consider that an impressive victory. Outside of Jose Aldo, what's really that much of an impressive victory that Conor McGregor's had?
Poirier was an impressive victory.
I don't know if he'd win a rematch against Poirier right now. I don't know if you could definitively say that. I don't know if he beats Tony Ferguson. I know damn sure he won't beat Khabib. But now the only way you can put right. But I'm saying, in my opinion, the only way you can put him over Aldo is if he gets a rematch against Khabib and beats Khabib. That's the only way. I don't care if he beats Jorge. I mean, maybe Jorge, you can start talking about it. But personally, I just think he hasn't really had that many impressive wins. Eddie Alvarez is not that impressive, to be honest. Dude. Come on.
Backing off the Eddie Alvarez point, there's nothing I could argue with that because, yes, he was on his way out, and, yes, he was a below-average champion. However, he carved his way up until that spot to earn that double champ.
Wait, let's talk about that. How? Most fighters in the UFC. Wait. Now I'm about to discredit you. That's why I know you don't know what you're talking about. Most fighters in the UFC, in order to become a double champ, Max, school this guy, they've got to have multiple title defenses. Your boy never defended his titles. What are you talking about?
He said everything.
Silence.
He did everything he said he was going to do, with the exception of Khabib.
You're right. He beat Jose Aldo, which is the most impressive victory of his career. Congratulations.
I'd say Mendes.
Congratulations.
Mendes is up there, but Aldo's much more impressive.
Because that's what you know what the asterisk next to Mendes was. Mendes took that fight on 10 days' notice. That's what everybody was saying.
And Conor took 10 days to prepare for a wrestler. And when he was in his prime,
listen. If Conor were to beat Max Holloway right now, if Conor were to beat Dustin Poirier right now, if he was able to beat even Tony Ferguson, which I honestly really think Conor doesn't really stand a chance against Tony Ferguson. That's my opinion.
Max,
I think. Go ahead.
Max, I do have a question for you though, because I want to talk to you because you know MMA. I want to look specifically at you because you know what you're talking about.
I know what I'm talking
Listen, no, you don't.
I think Jimmy does.
Listen,
I think Jimmy
no,
does.
he doesn't. He knows he's the McGregor lover. But listen, let me tell you this,
Okay.
Max, seriously, like let's level for a second.
Sure.
Let's not don't try to be nice because he's a guest on the show. Let's be real for a second. Most UFC fighters, when they are champion, how many title defenses do they have to get in order to get a chance to become double champ? Daniel Cormier had to have consecutive title defenses.
True, that's a great point. That's very true.
I could even make the argument, and this is people that I actually talk to that work for the UFC that I'm friends with that have literally said they often feel like the
Look
dude
at Amanda Nunes.
Yeah, that they often said that they feel like the dude was like given a carved path to that championship. Because think about it, every fighter that he beat. Listen, Jose Aldo was his most impressive opponent. But another question I'm going to ask you, Max. If he's so great, if he's so dominant, why did he never defend any of his belts?
It's true. And why hasn't he fought a guy like Tony Ferguson? I'm going to keep hitting that point.
Why
is he avoiding just? Why is he avoiding?
Max, why did he turn down the Khabib fight 4 times? Why did he turn down the Tony Ferguson fight?
Because he knows he can't beat Khabib. But that's not my point. My point is that he's better than Jose Aldo. And you even told me on the FaceTime on Saturday, yes, Conor McGregor is the better UFC fighter than Jose Aldo.
I did.
So
I said he's a better fighter.
Have him on a higher list.
Oh my God. His resume is better, Jimmy. His resume is better, Jimmy. What are you talking about, Jimmy? Do your homework, Jimmy. Just because you are better than somebody doesn't listen. Somebody's resume, Daniel, help me out here. Somebody's resume makes them better than the person. Now the person could listen. Conor McGregor's resume is not better than Jose Aldo.
Like this.
You're ridiculous. You're ridiculous.
Jose Aldo has beaten Mendez.
You're ridiculous.
So it's 13 seconds.
You're ridiculous.
That's
look, Jimmy. Jose Aldo has beaten Mendez multiple times. Okay. Which is, you want to credit Conor McGregor. He's beaten him more than once. He's beaten Frankie Edgar more than once. He's beaten Uriah Faber at his prime.
Uriah Faber's a Hall of Famer.
Who's a Hall of Famer.
How many Hall of Famers Conor beat?
Jose Aldo.
Who else?
Maybe Nate Diaz. He's in the conversation of maybe getting into the Hall of Fame. Maybe.
Like, do you even want to respond to that?
Jimmy, thank you for coming on to the Right Way Podcast, brother. We appreciate everything that you bring. Check the Phlite Zone podcast out. Jimmy is always great to talk to. Jimmy is staying on his point, even if he doesn't make any sense. But Jimmy, we appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much, brother.
Good stuff.
On to the next.
I'm not gonna lie. The way I thought about that was Aaron Rodgers versus Tom Brady. Like Aaron Rodgers, more skilled quarterback.
I was gonna bring up Carson Wentz too. Wentz, because it's the same thing. It's all about what ifs. It's what ifs. Yeah. Oh, Connor's good. What if? What if he fights him? What if? It's a resume. Greatest. It's a resume.
There's a difference between better and greatest in every sport.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
So I guess if Giannis beat LeBron in the finals this year, Giannis.
Right. It's the same thing, dude. It's like if Jimmy Garoppolo won a Super Bowl, but you're saying Jimmy Garoppolo is better than Tom Brady because Jimmy Garoppolo had a better team and won the Super Bowl this year. It's the same argument. It's nonsense.
Right.
You know.
All right. So that was a delicious main course. Now on to the dessert, the NBA. We're getting into the NBA. We're gonna bring in the Right Way Sports Network.
Mr. Pranav.
The Right Way Sports Network's lead NBA analyst. Pranav. How's it going? Pranav, did you like that butchering, Pranav? Did you like that butchering? Huh?
Yeah.
Did you?
That was entertaining as hell.
Listen,
I was just laughing.
The butchering.
I was just sitting back and enjoying.
The butchering.
That was something to watch.
Yeah. Thomas, I'm happy that you enjoyed it, but guess what? You guys know what I do. I butcher people when they come on the podcast and talk nonsense.
All right, so getting into some NBA talk. A few days ago, most people know at this point, there's a player feud between Damian Lillard. He's gotten in a few of those in his career.
I actually want to start this one off, too. Go ahead.
Okay. All right, we can start with Malik. Damian Lillard and Paul George, and also Pat Beverly. So Pat Beverly was pointing at his wrist Dame time after Dame missed a couple late free throws in the game against the Clippers. So Malik, do you think the Clippers took the taunting a little too far? What's your reaction?
Listen, I'm gonna start this by saying this, and I hope Grant is in the comment section right now because I know he said he wanted to defend his boy. Let's not talk about the Clippers for a second. Who the hell is Patrick Beverly to be talking to Dame Lillard like that? Who the hell is he? Why is he even in this? That's my question. Why the hell is he even in this thing? Right? I mean, at the end of the day, listen, I've never been a fan of Patrick Beverly. He's overhyped. Listen, he's a good defensive player. He's the best and all that kind of stuff. But he's not even on the same hemisphere as Damian Lillard. He's not even on the same hemisphere, and we can all agree to that. I'm just baffled that, the guy sits up here and he's really talking as if he's one of the like that he even has a dog in his fight. He doesn't have a dog in his fight. It is blown out of proportion. They did take it too far. Listen, people lose all the time. But like Dame Lillard said, we focused on getting the AFC. We're focused on getting the job done. We're not focused on a little feud with, Pat Beverly. And I love what he said to Paul George about Paul George switching teams, about him sending people home. Listen. I'm a big fan of Dame Lillard. I'm a big fan. I like the way he carried himself throughout that entire process, especially when he was ganging up. I definitely think he got blown out of proportion with the sisters and wife. I saw some crazy stuff on the internet, people saying this and saying that to one another. It was definitely blown out of proportion. But I was listen. I wasn't really too focused on the back and forth. I was focused on why Patrick Beverly was even talking. He just annoys me. That's my 2 cents.
I'm the biggest Patrick Beverly fan of all time. So I'm glad. It's competition. Patrick Beverly knows in his heart he's not better, but that's what he does good. Sure. He gets under players' skins. That's what he's
kind of like you.
Exactly. That's what he's good for.
He's not the best, but he likes to get under people's skin.
Let's look back at the playoffs last year. What did he do to Kevin Durant? No way on hell can he guard Kevin Durant, but that's what he does. He's a pest. That's what's good. When you go and play a pickup basketball at your local gym, what are the players? Okay, well, you're a boxer, so what are the players that annoy you the most? Ooh. Those guys that they give you the little elbow, the ones who start talking trash, and they're not better than you, but that's what they're good for.
Let's talk about podcasts. I can resonate with that. When I go on a podcast, and then you get people from California that say that they're better than me, and I laugh at them and I smirk at them and I say, listen, you got to get more skin in the game before you come talk to me. You know what I'm saying?
But you're admitting that I get under your skin, so I'm glad that you are. Listen, you said it best. Damian Lillard's focused on getting the 8th seed. We're talking about the 8th seed. Okay, Patrick Beverly doesn't have to worry about that. So that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
How do you say this, Pranav?
Pranav, you're the man we want to hear from.
You just said Patrick Beverly doesn't have to worry about that because Patrick Beverly hasn't had an ounce of responsibility as a leader of his team. He wasn't even playing in that game. He was riding the bench, load managing. So
we lost Pranav. Pranav was going.
Well, let me chip in. Let me chip in while Pranav is his situation out. I think it's always healthy. Look, in the league,
he's back. He's back.
Oh, he's back. Okay, I'll let him do his thing.
I know you get so emotional talking about this, Pranav, but you got to stay with us, man.
So going off what I was said before my So Patrick Beverly is load managing, riding the bench, talking trash. He's not on the same level. You're talking about he doesn't have to worry about getting the 8th seed because he's never had to elevate his level of play to even get there. And speaking of Paul George and Patrick Beverly, Damian Lillard has sent both of them home in the playoffs, like he has said last year and in 2013 on buzzer beaters, waving goodbye. He absolutely owns them in the playoffs, outperforms them every year. I don't see what Paul George and Pat Bev really have to say.
Once again, we're talking about the 8th seed here. They're the 9th seed right now, not even the playoffs. So they got to figure out some things first.
And you know what Dame Lillard does after those 2 missed free throws? He goes, he practices, drops 51, goes on Carmelo Anthony's podcast. Carmelo asks, hey, can you drop another 50 piece? Tonight he dropped 61.
That's why Pranav is our lead NBA analyst here. That's why I love Pranav. Pranav just deals out the sauce. So he doesn't care who the competition is. He tears them to shreds. I love it, Pranav. I love it. That's why you're the best.
But we're not really debating anything here. We're just talking. Why you're the best. We're just talking about the feud because I mean, still after that 61-point game, what place are they in right now?
I believe they're in 8th.
I think they have the 8th.
Oh wow, they have 8th. Yeah. Wow. And I'll wait to get into the Lakers a little bit later because you got a lot of Trailblazers fans getting hyped up, man. getting hyped up. Got to put them down in the playoffs. That's all I'm gonna say.
All right, let's talk about the Lakers.
Let me pitch in really quick. I think, look, with everything that's been going on, with COVID and all that, the bubble's been a real success in the NBA, and I think all of professional sports in the country are going to emulate that, right? And the reason why I bring that up is because the games that we've been seeing in the bubble have been incredible. So Dame time, I'm a huge believer in Dame time. I'm also a huge believer in the Clippers. So it's good to see these two forces clash. Now, where it starts getting tricky is when things get off the court. I'm all cool with the players going back and forth, but once you get family involved, like, it's kind of uncalled for, the sisters and everything like that. So I think on both sides, they both need to. I think there's a report that recently came out, I think a couple hours ago, that Dame and Paul George spoke with each other to settle things, which is good. But a healthy rivalry is a great thing for the sport. A healthy rivalry is a great thing for the sport, and I look forward to this rivalry continuing on the court.
Soft. I agree, Malik. Literally, we saw.
I love Max, though. Max is such a nice guy. I'm telling you, man. Max is literally the peacemaker of peacemakers. He don't like beef. Max, I respect that, man. You stick to your guns. I like that, man. Peaceful Max. That's what I'm gonna start calling you, man. Peaceful Max.
The issue that I'm having right now, and I'm gonna allude to our boy Jacob, because Jacob's been talking about this. The league's soft. What happened yesterday? I saw this, and people were defending Devin Booker. A guy from, I forgot what team, the Thunder. He dove for a loose ball, right? Hit Devin Booker's ankles. Everyone's mad that, Devin Booker could have got hurt. Oh my God, he could have broke his leg, could have torn his ACL. It's basketball. What do you want them to do? Be like wussies? I'm sorry, excuse my language. I was going to say something else. But this is basketball. You can't just have people like not touching each other. This is contact. This is what you need. You need people being physical. Throw it back to the 90s, man. Obviously not punches, because that's a little excessive, even though it'd be fun for the fans. We need that. You can't tell me a guy diving for a loose ball is going to get fined, is going to get teed up. It's basketball, man. That's why it's really irritated me, man. The league's gotten so soft. Just let these guys play.
We ain't gonna act like Devin Booker.
Another thing to add to that is Steven sent me the clip. I saw it, and there was no malicious intent. He was going for the loose ball. He wasn't like diving for the legs. There was no malicious intent at all. Devin Booker, I get that he was kind of upset because he was startled, but then he quickly realized that, it was just a hustle play, and they moved on. So I don't see the problem.
Me neither. No issue.
Again, no problem on the court, but I mean, why are people's families getting involved over games that mean nothing? I just don't get it. It's true.
The situation definitely went a little too far.
I was baffled about the cow comment. That was wild.
Yeah, that was interesting to say the least. All right, moving on. Last topic of the day. We're going to be talking about the Los Angeles Lakers. Been a very mixed bag so far in the bubble. They're 3-4. They've clinched the number 1 seed in the West. They're the worst shooting team statistically in the bubble so far. They're actually last in field goal percentage and 3-point percentage over their 7 games. LeBron hasn't looked like LeBron, not yet. So Pranav, has your opinion on the Lakers' championship chances changed with their results in the bubble so far?
My confidence in them has shaken a little bit. I thought that the Lakers only can be taken down by the Clippers, but that's not necessarily the case anymore. A team like maybe the Denver Nuggets, maybe a team like the Houston Rockets can take them down, but I don't think anyone other than that take them down. But yeah, my confidence isn't really shaken up. LeBron James will turn it up in the playoffs. We've seen multiple times that he's probably just conserving his longevity. So I'm not really concerned too much. I just have concerns with the other players surrounding AD and LeBron.
I agree, Pranav. It's just funny, bro. It's funny. We're talking about, Malik, I love saying this, recency bias. Okay, it happens every time. Somehow some team gets on a hot streak, and then we forget about what's been happening all along. LeBron James does not care. Does not care right now. We're talking about practice. Obviously, regular season games, but they got the number 1 seed. And obviously, yes, if you get a team like the Houston Rockets, which I'm a huge fan of, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, maybe they can upset the Lakers. But we're talking about a round 1 against the Trailblazers. And no, Damian Lillard has been playing absolutely great. But LeBron James and Anthony Davis, that's no competition. There is no way in hell that series goes more than 6 games. No way. LeBron James and Anthony Davis will turn it on.
Cheers.
And I'm not going to say that I'm confident in them going to the NBA Finals, but to say that they're going to lose in round 1 to the Trailblazers, I don't know. That's going way, way too far.
It's another example of media nonsense, wasting our time, guys. Okay, let's be honest. The Lakers, yeah, they've had dwindling, games. They've had some bad losses. So have the Bucks. So have the Celtics. So have the Heat. Right? I mean, every team in the bubble has had bad losses. Why? Because for the most part, the games mean nothing, with the exception of like the Suns and the Blazers, right? But with that being said, maybe the Blazers' hot form maybe extends the series by 1 game instead of getting straight swept, or maybe making it a 5-game series and make it 6 games. But the Lakers are still going to win. If there's one thing I've learned by watching basketball for the majority of my life is never bet against LeBron in the postseason. So. Yeah, I mean, I understand the Lakers have had shaky form as of late, but when just by the nature of having a 7-game series, I think when you have the best player on planet Earth, you should be favored to win. And with the exception of teams like Daniel mentioned, the Houston Rockets, who I'm also big on, they can make it interesting for the Lakers on their path to a championship. But I think the only team that really stands a chance against them is probably the Clippers, and that was going to be a good series either way. So. Have I lost a little confidence in their recent form? Yeah, but does that mean that they can't be the same dominant title contending team that they have been for the past few months? Absolutely not. I think they'll still be contending for the title, and I think they'll still be dominant. So,
Malik. LeBron sexual.
Oh.
Well, I want to nip this in the bud right now. Stop calling me that. That's an insult. Don't call me that. Number 2, I am a LeBron fan, but I'm not a LeBron sexual. I like LeBron, but don't call me that. Third, I'll say I love this story. I like how this happens, right? Every single year LeBron, before the playoffs, everyone starts to doubt him. His teams start to struggle. People start to say, oh, my God. I don't know if maybe LeBron's lost a step. Maybe the Kings lost a step. And time and time again, right? I believe he was, Pranav, 8 straight finals appearances or 7? Finals appearances, right? 8. So, listen, Danny likes to allude to saying recency bias, right? But I think that's what we're all under the assumption right now. Some of us are smart enough not to fall for it. But I'll tell you this right now. I'm not losing confidence in the Lakers. I definitely think the Clippers are going to be their biggest challenge. But that being said, the Clippers got a lot of stuff they got to work out themselves as well. The with themselves as well. The Lakers, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, they're still my favorite. I still think that they're going to be in the conference finals when it's all said and done. And I think that'll shake itself out the way it's supposed to. But like I said, my confidence in them isn't wavering. Have their performances been a little bit troublesome lately? Absolutely. The fact that they were that close with the Denver Nuggets, but like I said, we'll see how it all shakes out. I'm a firm believer in the Los Angeles Lakers, and I don't think that their recent performances should dissuade you from believing otherwise. The Lakers are still the team to beat in the West, and that's my opinion.
Yeah, the only concern that I've seen is
I have to talk about my favorite player, Kyle Kuzma, for a second.
Oh.
He had a good game last night, okay? But he hit a buzzer beater to beat PJ Dozier and Mason Plumlee, and people are going on Twitter acting like he's the third star the Lakers missing. Shut the hell up. 25 points against the Nuggets bench. Am I taking that seriously? No, the Nuggets were trying to lose the game because they don't want to get the 2 seed to face Dallas. I'm not taking anything that Kyle Kuzma does against the Denver Nuggets bench when they were trying to lose seriously. No.
I love it.
Pranav, what do you have to say about his Jesus comments?
Yeah, Kyle shooting over Jesus.
No comment.
And Kevin Durant went on Twitter saying, I have Jesus if you deny getting a stop.
Yeah.
So I want to tell everybody we've got a special podcast. Well, it's like a web show coming up here very soon. I know a lot of you guys who are listening in live have been following Pranav for quite some time, and Pranav is a fantastic basketball mind, and we love him here at The Right Way Sports. Network. I just want to take a quick moment just to talk about your growth, man. You've done a great job since coming on board here.
Thank you.
Come a long way from the crazy guy that was in my DMs, asking for an opportunity. But he's not going to be hosting the On the Ball web show podcast series with our guy Will Lachlan and several others. So we're super excited about
Congrats, guys.
You guys are going to do a great job. We can't wait to see what you guys are able to cook up, and that will be strictly a basketball show, guys. So you'll get your NBA fix on during that show. Just want to let you know, Pranav, no matter what happens, you're still little brother to the Right Way podcast. Still little brother to the Right Way podcast. We know you guys are going to do a great job. Make sure you guys follow them on Instagram, the On the Ball podcast. I'm going to bring some heat for you guys, and we're super, super excited for what the future holds. Adding Max back to it, but now we're excited to have you on board, my man, and we can't wait to see what you guys cook up. We also got some other big news, guys. The TWSN mobile app is coming out. Rumor has it this Saturday. This Saturday midnight, the Right Way Sports Network mobile app finally drops. It's long overdue. It's long been waited for. So while you guys are supporting us, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. And on August 15th, make sure you download the Right Way Sports Network mobile app, where we've got so much coming to you. We've got so much in store. This has been an amazing journey working with these guys and seeing their growth. I can't speak to it enough, but you guys do an amazing job. You guys are the reason why I do what I do. And the people that support us, the people who are watching, the people that comment, you are the reason why we do what we do. So thank you for supporting us here at the Right Way podcast. Does anybody have any last words?
Excited for everything, man. Excited for it.
We're coming, guys. We're the next best thing.
I'm excited. I'm excited.
What are we saying now?
I'm ready to go with the On the Ball podcast. Got two days left. I'm really excited.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna get on there one day. Kyrie Irving is better
Kyrie
than
Irving.
Damian Lillard.
So, we're going at it. We're going
So
at it.
we'll talk about that one.
And as Malik said, Kyrie versus Damian is going to be a butchering for
all right.
Pranav and
All
I.
right, keep that confidence. Keep that energy,
That's an absolute butchering for me. That's an absolute butchering for me. You should just
Keep that energy. Keep that energy. Keep that energy. I like it. I like it.
So like I said, guys, we want to thank you guys so much for supporting the Right Way podcast. We want to make sure that you guys have an excellent rest of your week. Also, the Right Way podcast in a few weeks will be switching to Thursday nights. Switching to Thursday nights, and we'll be bringing you all the crazy content. As you guys know, we have Tiana joining us now as one of our co-hosts, and we want to thank her so much. We want to thank Alexis for everything that she brought to the Right Way podcast. But we're entering into a new era, guys, and we're super excited about it. Super excited to see where this thing goes and how far it has taken us. But that being said, guys, subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on all of our socials, TWSN on Twitter, TWSN on Instagram, the Right Way Sports Network on Facebook, TWSN Analysts, TWSN Highlights, TWSN. Get it ingrained in your thoughts, because we aren't coming, guys. We're here. Have a good night.
If you are what you say you are, a superstar, then have no fear. The camera's here and the microphones, and they wanna know. If you are what you say you are, a superstar.